There are stories that thrill you, stories that entertain you, but then there are stories that change the way you see yourself and the world around you. Tonight, we relive the rise, the fall, and the awakening of a world that forgot what freedom really meant. Part 1. The Walls. It began with peace, or something that looked like it. For over 100 years, people lived behind walls so high they couldn't even imagine what lay beyond them. They believed the Titans were ancient demons, mindless creatures that existed only to devour. But the truth is, the walls didn't just protect them, they blinded them. Generations were born, lived, and died without ever questioning why the walls existed. To them, ignorance was safety, but peace built on ignorance always ends in blood. When the Colossal Titan appeared that day, it didn't just destroy the wall, it destroyed belief itself. Eren Yeager watched helplessly as his mother was crushed beneath rubble and devoured. He couldn't move, he couldn't breathe, but in that moment of horror, something inside him awakened. A fire too bright for a cage that small. From that day on, Eren didn't just want revenge, he wanted freedom, even if it meant burning the world for it. That day wasn't just the fall of Wall Maria, it was the fall of everything humanity thought it understood about safety, hope, and mercy. Part 2. The Fight for Freedom. When the dust settled, humanity had one last line of defense: the soldiers of the Survey Corps. They weren't heroes, they were volunteers for death. Every mission outside the walls was a gamble against the impossible. They knew the Titans would kill them, and yet they still went. Levi Ackerman, humanity's strongest soldier, didn't fight for glory. He fought because no one else could. His strength was born from loss, his silence from trauma. Every swing of his blade carried a lifetime of pain. And still, he kept moving. Erwin Smith led them like a man already dead, pushing his soldiers forward into hopeless battles with nothing but conviction. His dream wasn't victory, it was truth, and he was willing to die for it. He once said, "We give our hearts," and they did, over and over again. But behind every act of courage was fear. Behind every battle was guilt. They weren't just fighting Titans, they were fighting the parts of themselves that wanted to give up. In every soldier's eyes, you could see the same silent prayer: let this mean something. Part 3. The Truth Behind the Walls. The more they fought, the more they began to see cracks in the world's lies. The Titans weren't monsters born from nightmares. They were human beings transformed, tortured, and used as weapons. Every scream they heard on the battlefield was not a beast. It was a person. The world inside the walls was just a fragment of a greater prison. And humanity wasn't fighting extinction. It was fighting its own sins. The rulers, the history, the bloodlines, all built on deceit. The true enemy wasn't the creature outside. It was the one inside. When Eren reached the basement, he found not salvation, but despair. The ocean he had dreamed of his whole life wasn't freedom. It was just another boundary. Beyond it lay nations, hatred, and endless war. He learned the truth that breaks all heroes, that freedom and violence are twins born from the same desire. The walls had fallen, but humanity was still trapped, not by stone this time, but by history. Part 4. The Monster Inside. Eren changed. The boy who once swore to kill Titans became the man who swore to kill the world. His heart, once full of rage, became consumed by purpose. He saw only one path: destruction. He believed that if humanity's enemies were gone, peace would finally come. But peace built on genocide is not peace. It's silence. The ground trembled. The oceans boiled. Millions of colossal titans marched, crushing everything in their path. Cities vanished under clouds of steam. Humanity screamed, not for survival, but for forgiveness. His friends, the ones who once fought beside him, now stood against him, Mikasa, torn between love and duty. Armin, still clinging to the idea that there must be another way. They didn't fight Eren because they hated him. They fought him because they loved him too much to let him destroy himself. When Mikasa held Eren for the last time, there was no anger, no words, only silence, the kind that breaks hearts more than any scream. She didn't just end a war, she ended the cycle of hatred that had consumed generations, and for that, the world finally exhaled. Part 6. The weight of peace. Peace arrived quietly, the way dawn touches a battlefield after the last scream has faded. There were no celebrations, no grand speeches, only people trying to understand how to live without fear after a lifetime of it. The survivors of Paradise and the nations beyond the sea faced each other like strangers meeting in the ruins of a shared nightmare. Trust was not immediate. It was fragile, like a hand reaching out through smoke. Armin became the bridge no one else could be. He carried the memories of every sacrifice on his shoulders and spoke with a gentleness that disarmed even the ones who wished to hate him. He believed that dialogue was stronger than blades, even though he had seen both fail. Historia struggled to rebuild a nation that had never known the meaning of choice. She ruled not with power, but with humility, understanding that every decision she made could shape or shatter the remains of her people. And Mikasa, who had given up the person she loved most, walked through life with a quiet strength that inspired those around her. She was a reminder that peace is not the reward for winning. It is the responsibility that follows loss. Humanity now faced a new challenge, one without titans or walls. They had to confront their own hearts and learn to live without turning fear into hatred again. Peace was not a gift, it was a burden, but it was a burden worth carrying. Part 7. The Legacy of Titans. Years passed, and the story of the Titans became history instead of terror. Children who had never seen a Titan grew up listening to tales that sounded like myths, but the people who had lived through the old world still carried the weight of memory. They remembered the rumble beneath their feet, the smoke of burning cities, and the faces of the ones they lost. Eren's name became the most debated question in history. Some saw him as a monster who shattered the world. Others saw him as a tragic figure, a boy crushed under the weight of a destiny he never asked for. But most agreed on one truth. His story was a warning. Power without understanding is destruction. Freedom without empathy is chaos. Mikasa eventually grew old, visiting the tree where Eren rested until she no longer had the strength to walk there. When she passed, the wind on that hill felt different, as if the world was acknowledging the end of an era. Yet the legacy of the Titans lived on, not in fear, but in wisdom. Humanity learned that walls, whether made of stone or hatred, always lead to tragedy. And the greatest victory was not defeating Titans, but choosing a path where Titans would never be born again. Part 5. The Aftermath. When the rumbling stopped, there was peace, but not the kind they had dreamed of. The world was scarred, the land empty. The Titans were gone, but so were the people who carried them. Humanity had survived, but barely. In the ruins of Shiganshina, children played again. Grass grew where blood once stained the ground. Mikasa visited Eren's grave beneath a lone tree, the same one where they had once sat together as children. She smiled not because it didn't hurt anymore, but because she knew he was finally free. Attack on Titan didn't end with triumph. It ended with understanding, the realization that freedom isn't something you take. It's something you earn, again and again, through pain, forgiveness, and choice. Eren Yeager became a question written in time. Can humanity ever be free without first confronting the monsters it creates? His story ended, but his message didn't. Attack on Titan is more than anime. It's a mirror. It shows us how fear can control us, how freedom can destroy us, and how love can both save and end the world. It's not just about Titans. It's about what it means to be human, fragile, desperate, and endlessly reaching for the sky even when the world keeps pulling us down. This was humanity's fall. And maybe it's rebirth. Subscribe for more cinematic anime journeys.